What's up, you Comic Sans lovers? I hope you are all doing great in this amazing week. My name is Lucas and welcome to this new video. Last week I talked about the basic things that you have to think of when you are creating your online presence. If you didn't watch that movie, it's a movie now. A Hollywood production. If you didn't watch that video, just click here. Yeah, it's here. I'm looking there because there is the screen where I can see my beautiful face. So click here to watch the last week's video so we can continue to this one. I gave you some resources where you can find more information about branding strategy. As I said in the previous video, Skillshare has some amazing courses teaching you how to create your personal brand strategy. So I'm going to leave the link here on the description below. And in today's video, we are going to cover how to translate those characteristics from your brand strategy that you are going to create with the resources that I just gave you into visuals. And if you want more content like this to learn how to be a graphic designer or a content creator, don't forget to subscribe, to drop a like and to ring the bell. Now, jumping into the content of this video, why is it so important to have a personal branding when you are building your online presence? Basically, when you put effort to build your online presence, you want people to remind you, because whenever they see something that is made by you, doesn't matter if it is a content from Instagram or a video on YouTube or wherever you want to be in, they should remind of you when they see the content. Doesn't matter if they are seeing your face or just seeing a part of your content, if you are hearing your voice, if they are seeing something that you created, just like a post on Instagram or any other platform, or even if you are creating a video like I'm doing right now, you should be able to make your audience remember you. And this is why the first step of everything that you should do is to create your personal brand. A personal brand will make sure that you stay consistent along all the platforms that you are going to use, like YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, or whatever you want to be in. Your personal brand is more like an idea that your audience have about you, and you are trying to build this idea with some kind of strategies like fonts that you are using, the tone of your voice, the way you speak, the way you write, the fonts you use. I don't know if I already said this, but the colors and the shapes that you use on your brand. So the branding is a full experience that you create for your audience. And with this experience that you build, you try to make your audience feel something. And if they feel what you want them to feel about you, it's because you have a good branding. But now that you have all your strategy on the paper, it's not going to do the work by itself, because only having the strategy on the paper is not going to do actually anything. So you have to apply everything that you just determined for your own brand. This is when your skills as a graphic designer, even if you are not a graphic designer, are going to get inside of the game. Your task now is to translate everything that you just wrote on the paper, all the strategies that you created for your brand, into visuals. Doesn't matter if it is with words, because the words that you are going to use in your platforms, your social media platforms, are going to use fonts, and the fonts that you choose for your brand are also going to help you with the message that you want to convey. So now take all the strategy that you created on the last video, and if you didn't create, I'm going to leave you again the link here so you can understand a little bit more how to create, what you have to take into account when you create your personal brand. And after you having all the plan for your brand, this is the part where you're going to turn everything into visuals. And if you don't want to go through the whole video and search for other things, I'm going to give you just a very superficial explanation about what you should take into account when you create your personal brand. Whenever you are creating your personal brand, you should take into account all the characteristics that you want people to see of you. So the way you speak, the way you do things, the way you communicate, what you want to teach. Who is your audience? Who is the persona? The persona is the one ideal client that you want for your services, for your products, and to be your ideal audience. It is basically one person. You don't have to think of your persona as a target audience. It's not the same, because a target audience is a group of people that you are interested in creating something for them, but the persona is a single person. So you have to give him or her a name, a profession, set some characteristic of his or her personal life. Basically create a fictional person, a fictitious, I don't know how to say it, made up person to be your ideal client. And everything that you are going to do in the future for your brand, all the products and services are going to be done specifically for this person. This is your persona. And it's very important, because if you are able to drag the attention of this persona, this fictional person that you created, let me just check if the word fictional actually exists. I guess this word will do. So if you are creating this fictional person, this made-up person, And everything that you do, if you do correctly for this specific person, probably all your target audience are going to be dragged to this same way to think, way to feel. And if you are able to sell to this person, you are going to be able to sell for many other people inside of your target audience. Now that you already defined your persona, now that you defined your niche and the basic things that you need for your brand strategy, it's time for you to define some kind of rules that's going to attract those people. Let's suppose that we are talking about a person that is very interested in the digital world, that is like between the 20 and the 30 years old. It's a male with my age. So let's suppose that we are talking about me. What kind of rules you can put inside of your brand, like the colors, the shapes, the vibe that I would appreciate to see in a brand? What would make Lucas turn into a buyer, into a customer from your brand? This is the thing that you should have to take into account when you are writing your strategy. And when you have your strategy all defined, everything finished, it's time to start creating the rules of your visual communication. The rules are some characteristics that you are going to apply to everything that you create for your brand. So let's start with the color. You always should think of the color of your brand as a color that's going to attract that specific persona. And why those colors should attract someone? Just think of the vibe of the color. Is that color communicating correctly? Don't forget that colors has some meaning to it. And the meaning are not universal, because depending on the country that you are, there are cultural differences that's going to change the meaning of the colors that you are choosing. Because let's suppose that we are talking about orange, for example. There are some countries where the color of love, that is most universally known as being the color red. In some countries it is orange. So you have to take cultural things, cultural aspects into account when you are choosing the color for your brand. And why is it so important to define a color for your brand? Because whenever a person sees a red, a very strong red with a white type over this red, you're probably going to think about YouTube or Coca-Cola. So there are some things that stays in your mind. So with the repetition, whenever you are showing your brand over and over again for your audience, they are going to remember the color. And the color is something that stays very quickly in the mind. If you see something moving very fast, you're probably not going to understand the shape and you are not going to be able to say what it is, but you're probably going to be able to tell the color of the object that you just saw. So the color is one very quick way to communicate and to connect with the audience that is seeing your product or your post or your content in general. So pick a color, stick with this color in almost everything that you are going to use, and create some kind of rules for your colors too. So let's suppose that you have a specific color to be used when you have a bright background or a dark background. Whenever you see the specific situation where you have an image with a light background, use that specific color that you determined for that specific situation. The same can be applied with texts when you are talking about headings or the body text. Whenever you have some kind of information that's going to be repeated, like titles, like body text, paragraphs, you can choose a specific and standard color to be used in that kind of objects. This is going to create a kind of continuity in your brand, and people are going to start associating, like let's suppose that all my headings are orange. Whenever you see an orange heading, you are going to remember me, because you say, okay, Lucas always uses his headings with this specific tone of orange. So be specific with the rules that you are going to create, and whenever you create a rule, always follow the rules that you created for your own brand. Fonts are another very important thing that you have to decide and create some rules for your brand. And why? Because fonts have shape, and the shape or shapes that you have for your fonts are going to determine how the message is going to be applied. If you have this kind of fonts, the message that you say is very different from this kind of fonts that you see here. I have a very good example that I'm going to drop on the screen right now, where the same message, the same text can have a very different meaning depending on the font that you pick to say these words that you want to say. So depending on the shape that you have in your font, the result can be very different. I'm going to show something that's very extreme just to make it very clear, but keep it in your mind that when you are choosing fonts that has just some small differences, they're going to have big differences in the final communication, whether if you use a script font or what kind of script font. The same applies to sans serif and serif fonts. There are hundreds or maybe thousands of different styles of fonts. When it comes to sans serif, you have lots of styles inside of the sans serif. When you have serif fonts, you have lots of styles inside of the serif fonts, and when you have script fonts, you also have lots of different styles inside of the script fonts. For those who doesn't know, this is a sans serif font, this is a serif font, and this is a script font. The serif is just this small lines that you have, these small strokes that you have normally vertically or horizontally on the fonts. And never forget that you have to take into account the shape of the fonts that you are using, and they are going to have a message with the shapes too. So choose your fonts very carefully, and also create the rules where you're going to use the fonts, just like the colors. Use always the same font on the titles, use always the same fonts on the paragraphs, use always the same fonts when you have a side note. So create some specific situations where you're going to use the different fonts. Not only this, but when you have some kind of, you can use different sizes and weights of your fonts, because depending on the weight that you want to use, it's going to impact very much on the message that you want to convey. Also, the images that you use, you can choose a mood for the images, you can choose a kind of images that you are going to use, you can set like some rules to pick the images and how to use the images. I can give you a very clear example of how I use my images in my posts, in my Instagram page, my YouTube channel, everywhere. Basically, when I use images that is not just a video of myself like am I doing right now for you, whenever I do it, I try to create a complete experience along the image. I don't just conjugate an image along text. No, I create a full experience on my carousels. Whenever you see it, I'm going to show some of them on my screen right now. You can see that I try to create a complete experience from the beginning to the end of the carousel. So I have these smooth transitions that helps to give a sensation of continuity along the post. So this is one rule that I created for my own images when I use them. I also created a filter that it's a rule of my brand that all the images that I use should have this orange, this kind of warm toned filter above all the images I use on my pages, on my Instagram, on my YouTube, whatever I want to create. So whenever you see something that I created, you are going to always see the same color, the same filters, the same fonts. And this is going to, with the repetition, this is going to be able to make you memorize my style. And whenever you see it, you don't even have to see my face to remember that I am the one who created this. Or if someone tries to copy me and he uses my fonts with my styles, with my filters, you are going to see the copy and you are not going to think of the copy. You are going to think of me, even if you are not seeing something that I created, because the repetition that I made in my posts here on YouTube and everywhere that I post, along with you seeing that over and over again, is going to be able to create an image of what you think of me in your head, and whenever you see my style, you are going to remember me. And this is what you want to do for you too. When you create your content, you want people to remember you even when they don't see your face, or even when they don't read your name anywhere. This is what a good brand strategy or good brand design is. It's a set of rules that make people remember you whenever they see your content. Doesn't matter if they see your name or your face or not. Also, you can use some kind of shapes with some kind of overlays if you want to create a kind of a style. If you want more of a modern or futuristic look or retro look, you can add some texture with some kind of shapes, with some kind of filters too, to edit your image in the same way and to have this same feeling. So what you are trying to do with your branding is to make people remember of something inside of their heads. So when you try to use futuristic shapes or futuristic fonts and futuristic filters for your images, you are trying to make people see you as a futuristic person, or a person who brings content about futuristic stuff. So this is what you are looking for. You're looking for a way to make people remember you by what you want to be remembered. And this is it for this video. Thank you so much for being here with me until now. I hope this video don't get very long when I edit it. So if you want more content like this, helping you how to be a graphic designer or a content creator, don't forget to subscribe, to drop a like, and to ring the bell on this freaking channel. And I hope to see you there on the next week's video. Thank you so much. This is Lucas right here, and bye bye, you Comic Sans lover.